This bumper's really wasted anyway, so we ain't gonna hurt that, are we? Let's check out the condition here. Frozen. Something would work in there. Nope, that works. Nope, she's solid. These floors are definitely worse than they look. Look at these, what the heck? There's only one left? Yeah, there's 4 down there. There's 1 up here. So this is solid. This works. I don't know about that underneath. That's pretty shot. Then of course these are rotten. There's a hole underneath on this one. The rest of it looks pretty good though. So yeah. We got some, all this edge needs to come off. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, let's get started. Anybody think that's gonna work? Let's try it, see what happens. Well, I guess 2 out of 4 ain't bad, right? That one started around. That one's got something in it. At least I got the bottom 2 out. Got to heat those up. And then this one, who knows? All right, so how bad is it? Let's look. We got this is going to have to get replaced. We kind of knew that that was going to be like that. This lip here along the bottom, it's bad all the way across. So that's going to be a little more difficult than we were hoping for. So I'm going to have to cut into this here, which is a little more difficult to do. I'm just going to lap weld that. I'm not going to butt weld this piece in here and make 3,000 welds across there. I'm just going to tuck it in behind it and lap it. You'll never see it anywhere, so there's no reason to do that. The front here, it's rusted through this panel. So am I going to replace this entire panel? No. We're just going to go ahead and cut up here, replace part of this section. It just is going to put a piece in here behind and then put our floors in. Because when you put your panel in here, you can't see anything right here. All right, so there's no reason to make this like brand new behind everything. So yeah, we'll just make it look good. You know, I can finish that up. A little bit of filler and just kind of graze it with the sander. I'm not going to do anything to make it look perfect back here, but you'll never see it. So yeah, let's look at the other side. This piece here, fortunately I got the BBT floors. This piece right here comes with those floors. In fact, it's welded to them, and I'm gonna unweld it because it's much easier to weld that piece in separately. So, but yeah, it needs to be replaced. Look at, it's got holes here. It's all rotten on the tops. The e-brake is stuck. So the pin on that thing's wasted. Yeah, I'll just take it off. I'll cut it all off there first, and then what I'll do is I'll take the pin out after I get it in a position where I can do it much easier, right? Why work inside this little cubby in here when I can take it out? It's gonna have to come out anyway. It's pretty easy to weld in. It's not like it's a real difficult thing. I mean, some people make a big deal out of it. It's just drop it down, throw some welds on it, you're done. It doesn't need to be exactly perfect. As long as it's in there, it can be within a 1/16 or so and you're fine. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and put that in. The frames look pretty good. Most of it got protected with that stuff. People say water gets behind that stuff, but I mean it does. If it doesn't have it, it might be worse. But this side again, the same thing. I'm just going to have to cut up above here, and where the water kind of settled in here, because whatever it was leaking, or I don't know what happened, why it's only here. It's so weird. And it's not the windshield or anything else. We did have a fire because I forgot about the foam in here on the 66 and 7. I think they started putting this wonderful foam product behind here. So okay, the other thing I don't do, I do not remove this tube unless I absolutely have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the new floor right here, okay, and I'm going to sneak the floor in and then just weld it in afterwards, okay? So I don't have to take this tube out. That is a lot of work, and then you're ended up welding it underneath the floors after the fact, and it's not a very good place to be upside down welding under there unless you're on a rotisserie. Even then, I still wouldn't do it. All right, even on a show bus, I would not leave this. I would not take this out, because what I'll do is I'll butt weld it right here. You can't see that. Take the finger sander, sand out all the welds, make it look perfect. You can't. It depends on what you want to do. This one here may not be that way, but because when the rubber mat goes in here, none of that you see anyway. All right. So let's look at the floors real quick. Let's do that. You see, these are from BBT. These are nice because they come with this bracket here. Let's see. Let's open it up. So yeah, they've got this bracket on here, and they drilled and spot welded the hell out of it. So I'm gonna have to do my least favorite thing and drill out spot welds. But with it being brand new, you can kind of see where they are. So it shouldn't be that hard to do. You can see them right here. And I'll just take all those out. A lot of drilling, take that off and weld that in. Then I'll just use those same holes and plug them back up with weld. So it'll make it a bit easier. And you can see here how it is a little bit off, and it's still would work just fine like that. So anyway, the e-brake here comes with it, so that's nice. We got an issue on that. We know it's welded together with rust, so it's a throttle piece and all that. So we've got that all together. These are a little more expensive than Wolfsburg West, okay, but in this case they ended up being a good deal because we got that center piece there that came with it. So the other issue we've got here, we can clearly see that these are rusted out. The edge is here. I bet you this is too. Of course it is. So we got to make a decision here. You know, am I going to replace this entire panel? If I'm going to replace this, and I'm going to have to do the outer nose at the same time when I do the floors. So one of the things I was telling you guys, I want to try and make the videos about just the floors, but unfortunately you end up running into situations like so, where you've got multiple situations to deal with, and I think that would be a very expensive repair for me to do that inner section. I may just take it off so we can look at it and then make a decision, but I'm pretty sure my decision is going to be to make that inner piece, and it's not easy to do. It'd be much easier just to buy it and put it in. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I could remove the brake and put in this piece next. Okay. I mean, I could put that in before I even do that too. I might do that. But I need to cut this open here. The wiring harness goes through here. So yeah, I got to be really careful right there where I go through that area to not burn up the wiring harness, because I don't really want to replace it unless we have to. It's a lot of work to do. It's not that big a deal, but I probably should pull it, I suppose, at this point, maybe. But again, I've got to crawl underneath this thing, and I don't really want to do that. So maybe we'll mess up the harness and have to replace it, but that's fine. If I have to do that, we have to. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, so yeah, if you're doing this, and you know, just be sure to watch out. You see the wiring harness go up through here. Be sure to watch that when you cut through here, if you're going to cut this off. A lot of times I'll leave this lip on right here. If it's in good shape, I'll leave it on, and I'll just put the new metal up next to it, and you won't even really see it. It's stacked double metal right here, and you won't even notice. You just use this as a guide to put it in place. So I've done that before on some buses, but this one here, because it's so rotten, it's all the way along. So I'm gonna have to, it's pitted to the point where it's gonna probably go right through it. So I'm gonna have to remove it all and put another piece of metal behind there. So that's gonna make it more difficult. Okay, but we have to free up the brake or the clutch pedal and all that before we do anything else. That's why I left the pedals on, and because I'm gonna go ahead and work that bracket. I got the torch. I'm really low on gas, but I want to burn up what I've got before I take it down and get some new ones. So anyway, we'll try and heat these up. I did have to heat these up super hot and get them out with the torch. All you got to do is get it red, let it cool down, take some penetrating oil, put it on it, and you can get almost any bolt out that's stuck. So that's how you do it. You oxyacetylene. If you can do it with a propane torch, it just takes hours. It's just a waste of time. So, but with oxyacetylene, you can do it pretty quickly. So anyway. I just heated this up and look what happened. Started working. This could be saved. I don't know. Maybe we will. I don't think we will, but I don't know, the top of it's rusted. It's pretty easy to replace. What I think I might do is take the grinder and just scribe with the grinder and a cutoff wheel on either side of where it goes on that. Then it'll be real easy to find because I'll grind the metal down smooth and I won't see where I got it. But if I take the grinder and put a cutoff wheel mark on it, then you can't miss it. And just lay it on there and burn it. Honestly, this one's really not that bad. Look at this. Yeah, this didn't even work. Now it does. Yeah, this is rotten here in the middle, and the inside of this. Share your thoughts, guys. Now you guys will see why I don't like drilling all that. Look at all, I gotta rehammer and dolly all this, straighten this all out again. Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass, you know, but that's a lot of spot welds. And I don't like where they put them. It's a little too close to here, but you know, I don't get to choose this stuff. I just work with what we got. We'll straighten this all out and get this thing ready to put in. And then all I gotta do is weld right here and right there. I'm just gonna edge weld it. I'm not gonna, on this too, I'm not gonna drill this, and there's no point. So won't make it really any different once it's connected to here into this little frame and then to the floor. It's like it ain't going anywhere. So especially with that many welds. Okay. All right, so I took this off and I just remembered the early ones have little things you put on the bottom here with the rod goes through it, and the later ones, 66 and 67, have this pin. So somebody didn't put the pin on this one, so we've got to put that pin onto this one right here. It's hot. Onto here, so when you get in the right place. So yeah, it's gonna be a little fun. Then we got to put in some weld nuts here, because it would have had the one that goes from underneath, like on the Beetle. They welded in, so yeah, that has to go in there. All right, so I got this guy here welded in good. Had to weld all the little stuff on it, and the weld nuts. I'm putting this thing in. It's really hard to weld in here, so we're not going to get that to look that pretty. We're just going to sack and pucky it over it. You know, you just can't get your head in there. You're just, your helmet's bumping on stuff. There's just no way. So we'll try and get the best we can here. This is also a really hard spot to weld, actually. So once we get out of that, this part's easy. The tops of these things aren't hard. It's just welding this side when you're, I mean, I can't even barely get the camera in here, so I can't film it. So I'm just getting some of this stuff done, and then get all this all sorted out in here, the little edges, and then I'll start on the nose. But I've got to weld some braces in, so I want to get this done first before I go weld a brace across here and have that in my way. So I'll just continue on doing these. The center section is usually not that bad. That's the first time I've seen one that was really bad like that. But well, it's just, they're just bad in different places. There it is. The usual places, no, there's no usual place for a bus. So I'm just doing this here. I made this shape. Okay, and that's gonna go, it kicks out like that, right? Because this comes out on an angle, and this kicks out flat over here, and over here it kind of kicks downward a little bit in the middle. It's an odd shaped piece. So we got to shape this. I'm just going to do a slit cut in here, cut this bad stuff off here, and then lay this over that. And I'm thinking about doing a cut into butt on this. I don't know, not because I really need to, but because this has undercoating on it, and that stuff's, even when you remove it, it leaves residue there, and it ends up being contaminated, nasty weld. So I'm just going to try and I'm going to see if I can butt it in. We'll see how that goes. Just got that cut, and then peel it back. All right, I welded this piece of metal in there for a brace. I got all that kind of looking decent. Time you get it floors in there, you don't look backwards, so it just got to be okay, and it'll look fine. Remember, the door swings open this way. You can't even get your head in there, so we just got to get it to look acceptable. All right, so I've been prepping this thing. This is how these things go. They sell these at Wolfsburg West, but these here are not on their click website where you click on it and look at it. They only show the one that shows the hinge. So you have to look it up by the name. Lower B pillar or something like that. Oh, here you go. A post repair section. There you go. That's the part number. So you can look that up, and you won't find it on their website. It's hidden. It's one of those, you know, like the In-N-Out burger, you know, the hidden menu. And you have to bend this. I'll show you what I'm doing in a second here. You've got to shape this thing and bend it. So this is the bottom. It depends on what you need, right? You have to shape this and bend it because it goes up to where the hinge carrier is, and then you just put it on. It's a little tricky to do. That's why I gotta. Yeah, and to get it straight is another whole issue. So I'll just weld up the seams, even though I've made them way too big. That's fine. You use a little welding rod if you need to. Some guy used coat hanger to fill in a gap. I don't use coat hanger anymore. I haven't done that in years. That's what I did when I was 16 years old. And I found out it's not as strong as welding wire, so I used welding wire after that. So it goes on like this, right here. And you got to make sure that this is straight. Here, it's straight here. It's got to be straight about every angle you can look at. It's got to be straight there. And more than likely it won't be perfect, but guys make this look really easy, but it's not. So I just got to put a little tack on it, then I'll start moving it around. And I put some holes in it. You can see I put holes in it to weld to, because there's a support piece behind here. So let me kind of get you guys up close. We'll look at it so you can see what's there. Like when I did this last time on the other Westy bus, I didn't really show this as detailed. So I'm going to weld some of this stuff here, but this is a support panel. So when you're cutting this, you got to know that that's there, and make sure you don't ruin that. And then just peel the metal off of it. And then this one fits. Again, it's kind of hard to do like that. It goes over it, and then you can butt weld this together. What I'm going to probably do, rather than butt weld it, and you can cut off whatever you need too. So I don't always cut up to the hinge. If it's good down to about right here, I'll leave it, because I got that original. You know, this is not going to look quite as good as it was originally, but nobody's going to know, because once it's done, it'll look perfect. You know, it'll look pretty good. It's not going to look the same as an original seam, right? We should know that by now. So anyway, I'll just hit this on here. I'll put a little weld on it, one little weld in a spot where I can kind of tinker it around, and I'll play with it a bit until it lines up. Put a straight edge on it. I'll put all kinds of stuff all the way around it. Nothing's straight, so that makes it a little harder. But anyway, that's how it goes on. And this little tab is a continuation of this thing above. And it doesn't line up exactly perfect. You just have to straighten it in there. And that's the weld edge for this thing, which I need, because we're not replacing the B pillar. We're only replacing that section there where that rusted seam is. Okay. right, so we got this side done. Yeah, that's how it looks there. And that tucks under the hinge. The hinge just goes right in there, and it's on there really good. And it is straight as I could get it. I don't know. It looks like it's going a little, I don't know. Who knows? But I look at it all these different angles, because you got what's straight. You know, this isn't straight. There's nothing to put it up to that's straight. So you just kind of guesstimate it. And yeah, you might have it straight going this way, but not this way, right? There's 3 or 4 different angles in there. So anyway, good enough. Let's get on to the next patch. So for this video, we are using the Weaver welder. This is not a paid promotion or anything. I'm just showing you guys. But if you do click on the link to this, I get paid a commission on it, but it's very small. It doesn't mean much, but it means a lot more to you, because this is a lot cheaper than Harbor Freight, and this thing works really good. The only thing I don't like about this welder, I'll tell you, is it doesn't sound quite right. So it sounds kind of mushy, almost like you have the gas turned off, but it welds great. So anyway, you got to get used to that. This is one of my favorite welders. I'm not using it because doesn't have the plasma cutter below it, but I like using this one. It's very similar to that one. It welds really nice. But it does sound more appropriate. Like, it sounds like bees when you got the settings right, and it's automatic settings. So this one's fully automatic. That one's like a semi. So you got to kind of play with the knobs and get it right. This thing, it's just, you know, one knob does everything. Wire speed, automatic, and it does a little bit nicer weld. So I like this one a little bit better, but you know, again, it's up to you and your budget. Both are excellent. All right, so what I did is I made this here just a simple piece, and then laid it in, and it slapped over this, and then underneath here, once I get this all done, then I'll clean that up a little bit and weld it, because that's kind of rusted down there, but yeah, it's all right. It's pretty strong still. So what I'm gonna do now is, to get that shape right, we're just gonna set this piece, because I was gonna reuse this, right? Originally. There's some, no. That's a no. Definitely not gonna reuse that. So I'm just gonna keep you guys in frame, and then I'm gonna put this up here and then trace it. I'll show you in a second. So now I've got a nice line following the body line, but I need this to be about a 1/2 inch longer. So I could just hold this piece on here and just trace it with the plasma cutter. I'm just showing you guys different ways. You may not have a plasma cutter. Or I could cut this 1/2 inch away, okay, and then I'll bend that edge on that line, okay? So then that will be, I'm gonna bend it. I don't know if I want to weld down. Well, maybe I should. It doesn't matter. I'll probably bend it down the way it was originally, and I can go in through this hole and put a few spot welds on there. And for now, at least, there's not much holding the front of this car together. All this is completely rusted to nothing. So I had to put braces in here as soon as I cut this, before I cut that, because I want to put a brace on the other side. Now that I've got this welded in, okay, I could cut the whole front end off. All the rest of this I could cut off probably, and there's enough from that being, I'll do the other side a brace like this too, but there'll be enough so where it won't sway around, okay, and it'll just stay in place. I don't know if I'll need an upward brace. I don't think so. There's not a lot of weight here, and I'm not going to be sitting on the roof or anything. So yeah, I'm not going to have to climb up in here and all that. All my welding is going to be done from out here, so I'm not going to be, you know, putting weight on it or something. So that boxed in like that, and the other side the same, should be enough for me to continue with this. So we'll continue on. You see my slit cuts there, right? I just did that by freehand anyways. It's not like it's rocket science or anything. I'll have to fix that. I gotta do a little work to that, but I'll just do this like that. I've got my support panel in there. There's a lot to do on the front of one of these. I need to do a little double-handed thing there. All right, so we're gonna get ready to put this one in on this side. Got this piece in here already. I'm gonna finish the rest afterwards. So I just wanted to get some of that done beforehand. So I'll just mark this here where I'm gonna grind. Just along here, kind of like that. Right there with the Sharpie. That's a slick Sharpie there. All right, the clicker kind. And then as soon as I get that welded in, then I'll just take the Sawzall, lop that sucker off. Yeah, that's what I'm using, just a Sawzall, lop that off, lop this thing off. And then yeah, I mean, I can just continue on with all the removal of the whole nose now. I think this will hold this up, no problem. I mean, there is that tube kind of still holding some stuff together. But once I take all that out, you know, it just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's kind of on here. So it shouldn't move at all. With this, when I put the bottom in, it should be fine. It should hold it all in place, because it's kind of got boxed in right here. Okay. And this is just scrap metal. You guys, I want to show you guys something new. It's not really new, but this works for all Volkswagens. It doesn't matter what your Mercedes-Benz too. Are you tired of putting on the lug nuts, lifting the wheel up? You get one of these here. They got them in 12 millimeter. This is 14 millimeter. You thread one of these in like that. And now you just take your wheel and you hang it on the stud. They have them in aluminum and steel. These ones are aluminum, and you know, they're fine. Now you just put it on the stud like so, and you can almost do this with one hand now. So you just, looks like you do with one lug nut, right? You just go ahead and balance it on there with this. So now instead of having to lift up the wheel, you just have it on there and you just kind of move it around a little bit like this. You put your lug nuts on. Now this works on the late model ones too. So one of the problems I have is when I'm doing late model cars and the lugs want to fall off, you know, you're trying to put the wheel on, you're having to hold the wheel up and all this stuff. It's hard on your back, right? These lug nuts, this is not a very good example. These lug nuts are kind of shot, okay? This is kind of stripped out, but once you get one started, usually it's fine, right? Well, you're just using a stud to get that one started. Like I said, this is a poor example. These lug nuts are stripped out and this drum needs to go. It needs new threads in it. So anyway, but once you get one started, you go ahead and tighten up your wheel. Give it a quick tell those threads are in perfect shape. Once you do that, you just remove this thing by hand. It's got a little hole in it, so you can put something through it to if it gets tight on there. They got them in your bug 10mm, and then they got the 12mm beetle, 14mm bus. But they do, the 14mm also does the late model Volkswagens. So yeah, I thought you guys might want to see this. So anyway, it just takes that back-breaking effort, especially when the car's up on the lift, to put the wheels on. Now, if it's on the ground, you can usually kind of roll it up on your foot, but still it's kind of a pain to get that first lug nut in there. Use these little studs, saves you some time, some hassle. All right, so just when you clean this off, you can see here, this little bracket thing, you have that little tapered edge. So I cut it up to the tapered edge, okay, right up to there, and I butt that area along. And then this little bracket thing right here, you weld to this, okay, and that's how this thing fits on here. Let's look. It goes on like this, okay. And then I gotta bend this a little bit more. This little part right here, I gotta bend it. You have to bend that and then notch it, okay? Because it just depends on where you're gonna weld it in. And then it fits like that. So if you're lucky, you butt it. If not, you leave a gap there and just put a patch piece over it. That's what I'm gonna do anyway to strengthen it up. I'll put a little patch over this whole area around the corner. Okay, over the top of that, a reinforcement piece. It'll be butted on there, so it's going to be as strong as stock, you know, or maybe even stronger. I don't want a shortcut on this because people step right here when you're getting in. You know, want to make sure it's on there really good. So the hard part is to get it straight. So yeah, you got to look at it this way. You got to look at it that way. You know, you just have to really work your way around it, make sure you got it on straight, and you know, all you can really do is look at it. You can't really, there's nowhere to measure it or anything like that, so you just got to really put a little tack on there and take a look at it and see where you got it. So anyway, I'll get it tacked on there. I can't do this with you guys watching. All right, I don't know if I showed you guys all this panel. Sometimes guys go, oh, you repeat yourself. It's like, yeah, I shot that like 3 days ago. Do I remember? And you're watching it in one video. So sometimes I do, because like I said, I don't know that I showed you this or not. But anyway, just bent a couple pieces here, shrunk this edge to get it to be round, matched it up to the door bottom, matched it up to the part I pulled off. Let's look at that. I got it right here. Kind of pulled this one off and it was all pitted. That's why I had to do it. And I just make that. I traced off where this thing is. Hopefully I'm right. I don't know until I bolt the bumper on, right? Usually those brackets, I've had them just bend them back and forth to make them work. So anyway, because you can't see it's behind the bumper. All this is behind the bumper. So, but the top of this you can. So all I do on here is, so I shrunk that to get this thing right. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and use pliers and then I slick cut it so it'll relieve it. And then I've got a line on here where it's supposed to be. Do this here. Now I could have done this, you know, with a tipping die or something like that, but I really think it would have been a issue. It would have tried to straighten out this thing. That's what I was worried about. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't, but so anyway, I'll just make all these. I've made these many times. I haven't made the top of the whole thing. I mean, I usually, what I'll do is I'll just take a piece of metal and I'll make this shape, and then I'll just slick cut it on this side, slick cut it on the other side. If you don't have a metal shrinker, then you can just put slits here, put it, you know, stagger them. So your slits are staggered, and then you can bend it any way you want. And then just weld that little piece of L metal on here. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. You just make just this shape right here, just from here, okay, from here to there, okay, and then you just butt weld that on the edge, okay, after you slick cut here and then slick cut offset, slick cut up here. So because you can't slick cut all the way across because you just cut it off, right? So you slick cut here, you slick cut over there, and you stagger them, and then you can just bend it any way you want, weld up the seams, and you got that part. So the top of this, so I'll just weld these up, okay? You guys see what I'm doing. It's gonna weld those up. They'll be, you know, it might have a little bit of disc shape to it, but you will never notice it. And then I'll just butt weld a top piece on here. All right, that's how I'll do the top. And then that's it. You know, that's all I've made. I don't know, probably about 6 of these or so I've made over the years on different buses that I saved the dog legs, because, and you know, now anytime I can, I'm going to try and save the dog legs. The new ones are shaped so terribly, it's almost not worth it to even mess with them. I have to do so much work to them. So anyway, but that's how you do it. And the edge and the bottom, same way. I just shrunk this a little bit, shrunk this side, went back and forth until it was nice and straight, because it'll get wonky. And again, you will not see this when it's behind the bumper anyway, but it'll be nice. All right, so we're ready to take this off. Again, you got to have all the wires out. I got all the wiring out of here, because whatever's there is going to get cooked when I hit it with the plasma cutter, or you'll just cut through it. So I know that my new nose goes up to, you know, further up here. So all I'm going to do is cut it down lower. I'll use tape to get a nice straight line. Once I find my roll of tape, it's around here somewhere. Let's see. About right here. If I just cut right above this line, I am not gonna. Is it straight? step back and look, right? Close enough. Let's put the other nose up there and we'll look at it. Now you don't have to cut it at this line, but I'm going to use it because for me, I think it's a little easier. Oh, I'm not going to go that high. I'm not going to get it up into that light. Okay, that's too high. So I'll have to cut the nose. That's okay. That's why you put it under to look, right? So yeah, I'll just go. Yep. I'll go ahead and cut it there. And then what I'll do is I'll just cut through 2 layers of metal. I'll lay it on top of the other, and I'll cut through 2 layers of metal and just start butt welding it in. Yeah. So that means I'm going to cut through, I'm going to have to cut vertically on this too. So it's going to be a little trickier than I was hoping. That's okay. It's still not hard. All this stuff is really not that hard to do, guys. So let's get busy. We'll cut this off. Okay guys, I'm just kind of figuring out things right now. I definitely want to go below the turn signals, but but we've got, you know, some stuff that's above that, right? These holes up here. Let's see if it covers those. It doesn't. Yeah. There was some Bondo in the middle right here I had to cut through. That's why it took a little longer. You see the plasma cutter slow down. It cuts through it, but you got to go back and forth a bit. Yep, I might need help to put it on there. I think I'm going to have someone help me and just set it on with screws before I put the final panel on down here. When I put this panel on, I'm okay, but when I put the inner, there's an inner nose, there's this piece, we got this piece down here, we've got another piece that goes below here, and then we got the nose. So there's 4 pieces. So I'm thinking I want to make sure that it lines up here, okay, and also lines up with the lines here, okay, because not that I couldn't straighten it or something, or just put Bondo or whatever. You could fix if it was a little off. It's probably going to be, but yeah. And then what I'll have to do is so I may just use the top edge on most of it. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to mark how far down this is and then cut a line here, a start line. don't know if I want to do it right behind this thing, but I'll probably cut like right here. Okay. And then I can cut above this just a hair. Okay, cut above it so that I can see where I start, and then do a cut here and a cut here, right? It's not that high up, it's about right here, right? Do a little cut right here and a little cut right here on either side of that line up to the line, and then start peeling it from the inside out and just do a cut in the butt. That's probably the easiest way to do it. That's how I'm gonna do it. I've never done one this way, but you know, guys, I've done tons of body work over the years, so it's like all this stuff. Like somebody goes, "Hey man, where'd you learn how to do metal work on Volkswagens?" It's like, I did body work on, when you paint, you always have to do body work, okay, to get to paint. So you learn how to do body work, you know, after farting around with stuff for 40 years. Yeah, you learn how to do body work pretty good. So it's not that big deal. I'm not trying to be like a super expert guy. I just know how to do the stuff. I'm trying to teach you guys so that you can do your own car and not be afraid, because I had somebody teach me, so, you know, and he wasn't that great at it. So you guys could be better at it than me. And he wasn't that great at it, but he taught me a lot, and then I just ran with it, you know, over the years. And then I got better than him. Same thing, you know. And then there's guys that are better than me. So that's fine. We're all good, whatever. As long as you get the job done, you can drive it, be happy with it. That's what matters the most. Well, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this section of the video. I was going to try and put all this in one, and it's just too long of a video, and it's just too much stuff. I'll figure out, I think what I'll do is do this like this, okay, and then I'll take the two videos and turn them into one, so that you guys that are looking just for the nose, you can find it. So I don't know, you know, the repair section, but there's just always something else. You know, it's never just the nose. It's never just that. It's always, when you take it off, this thing's 99% of the time this is gone or rusted out, or you can repair it. I've done a lot of times where I've just made little pieces and done it, but this one here is just really so bad that there wasn't any real metal here left. There's a little bit in the middle. I maybe could have done it, but there's this above it. So, you know, by the time I just do this, I better just do this and just do everything. Just do the whole thing. So that's kind of where this snowballed into that. And because it's rusted here, you can see it, as soon as you grind that a little bit, it's rusted clear through all the way across right here. And then this whole section's rusted, and it's super pitted along here. There was no saving this panel. I mean, yeah, you know, and if I really wanted to, I mean, if metal was the issue, you could fix this, okay? You could just make pieces and put them in there. I could have made a piece and gone all the way along here with this, you know, and just welded it from this side, and, you know, and then just made a bunch of L pieces in here, and just don't even put these in here. You can't see them from anywhere. So just, and then just kind of fake this stuff in. And I've even done that, and then just taken the pinch welder and just welded it to here and done patches on this section, because you really can't see this. It's below the floor right here. It's below the floor. It's under the car, you know, unless somebody's digging, going under there, like Uncle Tony's garage's guy, his buddy, puts it up on the lift, and oh, you got ripped off, you know. I don't know. He's a good dude and everything, but I'm just joking. But yeah, one of those guys gets in there and starts digging around, then, you know, they could probably find the patches and go, well, did they do this right? Or, you know, hey, if you're driving it, it's right and it's safe, as long as you don't do anything stupid. So you don't have to have exact original metal all the time to make something. drivable, that's safe. You know, I've seen stuff that he had on his channel that wasn't safe. Okay, the frame issues. This car does not have a frame. This is a unibody. As long as it's all tacked together really good, it'll be fine. So anyway, I'll just line up these. I guess what I'll do here, I think I got to line these up to the bottom of the holes, and I hope that they bent this right and put it in the right place. So that's the issues that I'm wondering about putting the nose on. And then with that in place, is this going to line up to that line, you know? Because the nose could be a little higher, a little lower than it originally was because of the way the metal was made. So it can be a little tricky. You might not get this to line up, and if that's what's happening and you're putting it together and this isn't lining up, it's because the height of this changed, or your bus was assembled, you know, in a little bit off, and so you might have these lines out a little, and then that's where filler comes in, and you just make it work, okay? Or do a little hammer work or whatever. That's just what you got to do this stuff. It's not rocket science. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, we'll get on with this. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this video so far and this build. It's going to be a bit of a long one, but it'll be fine. You guys will be surprised how quick that whole floor section in the middle will go together. It really won't take that long. This will go together real easy because I'm not making stuff. Making panels see this stuff right here, I've got more time into that than I'll have probably in stacking this whole nose. I'll have more time into doing these two little patches. Stuff like that takes way more time. Putting in patch panels is a lot easier. So anyway, I'll talk to you next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.